Last week, my boss called me and said we have a conference call at 4 o'clock. And I had been expecting a raise because I'm doing a really good job and went from managing 1 office to 7 offices, and he promised me a raise. And so get to this meeting and they had cut my salary by $9,000 a year. And instead of managing 7 offices, I managed 4. They took all these accounts that I had worked with and grown away from me, and it wasn't fair. And I couldn't even talk to him at the end of this meeting. I was like, I can't talk to you right now. And we were done. And I was ready to quit my job, and I thought, okay, God's calling me to something else. I'm not supposed to do this anymore, but how are we gonna pay our bills? And I had hired someone to work at the store who was doing an awesome job, and I really felt like God had told me to hire her, and she was doing great. And I had to fire her because, like, where is this money gonna come from now? I emailed my boss. I said, I think we moved backwards. We should have moved forwards. Counter offered him. And I prayed about it. I was like, if he accepts this, I can hire Amy back. I can make it up in commissions. We'll be about the same. Our family will be okay. It'll be a hit for a couple months, but we'll work it out. He accepted it. I called Amy. Amy said she'll take her job back. That was awesome. That same morning, my doctor called me. And he said, hey, Renee, how are you? And I said, well, you've been my doctor for 12 years and you've never called me, so I'm guessing I'm not good. And he said, well, here's my next question. How badly do you want to have any more children? Because I know you guys lost a baby last year, so are you trying? And I said, well, do I have cancer? Just tell me. And he said, not yet, but we've been monitoring yourselves for the last couple years and it's getting worse, and I'm gonna recommend we do a hysterectomy. And I was devastated. I said, well, can we do anything else first? You told me a month ago it was okay and we could try. And he said, well, let's at least do some initial cervical surgery and then you can try to have a baby in the next 12 months. But if you don't, we need to do a hysterectomy. So, okay, I'm praying about this. We scheduled the surgery. Wednesday, my doctor's office calls again and said, I have bad news. And I'm like, worse than yesterday? Because I really can't take anymore. And they said, your insurance is not going to cover any of this because it's a pre-existing condition. I said, okay, well, how much is it? And they said, well, our fee's $900, but you have to call the hospital and see how much their fee is. So I call the hospital and I'm praying. I'm like, okay, we got $57 in the bank account and I don't know how we're gonna do this, but we'll do a love offering. We'll ask our friends, we ask our family, we got people who love us. We can come up with $2,500 or it can't be that much. The hospital calls back and they said, it's $8,000 if you don't have complications, it's $13,000 if you do, and you have to pay this before you come in and you need to have the surgery. So I'm like, I just prayed right there. I said, Lord, you made the universe, you raised people from the dead. This is bigger than me, but it's not bigger than you, and I'm begging you for a miracle. And I was just pleading with God. While I'm on the phone with the hospital, she says, let me just transfer you to medically needy. And the lady comes on and she said, well, how much money do you make and what are your dependents? And so I told her, and she goes, I'm gonna mark this surgery as paid by Medicaid and you don't have to pay anything out of pocket. And I went, how can you do that? I haven't even applied for Medicaid. She goes, well, I'm going to send you the paperwork and then you'll be approved. And I said, well, how long does that take? And she said, about 45 days. I said, but my surgery's on the 29th. And she said, that's okay, I'm going to mark it that we are paying it. And I said, how can you do that? She said, I'm the head of the department, so I'm marking it that you have Medicaid now and we'll backdate this. And I said, okay, well, what if you get my paperwork and I make $1 more than I'm supposed to and I don't get Medicaid? And she said, then the hospital's just gonna do this as charity. And I just lost it. I am like calling everybody who's not a believer and like, if you don't believe now. That was just so awesome that God gave me my money back for my job, gave me my employee back that needed a job, gave me my medical bills, I'm getting my surgery. The hospital's just not being generous. Jesus did this, and you know, that's amazing.
The biggest thing that I think God's been teaching me this semester is just relationship, how God desires a relationship with me, that He's just madly in love with us. And that's just what He's been teaching me a lot this semester. Something that, like, forever I've always wanted a girlfriend, you know, just someone to sit down and just have, you know. And God's just been like, no, and just kept saying no and closing doors. Eventually He's got to the point where God's just like, look at me, shut up, quit asking, I'm not going to give one to you. I've told you plenty of times, you know, I want you. And it's just as simple as that, is He wants me, the lover of my soul, the God of the universe, the guy that made the trees that are outside, the oceans, like, he wants me. That it is a relationship. It's not this weird, he's not an idea. He's not some old guy sitting on a cloud touching naked men's hands, you know? Just like you develop a relationship with someone in real life by spending time with them, going with them places, spending time with God, spending time with him just like I would spend time with anybody else. It's changing the way that I look at the world. It's changing the way that I live my life, literally, because before, like, I grew up in church, like, all my life. And so, you know, when you're young, they teach you, you know, this is what you're supposed to do, it's good and it's right, and you just do it. There's no other reason, you just do it. Now that I'm learning that he wants a relationship with me, I'm learning that all these things that he's told me to do is for my benefit. And so, he loves me, I love him, and so I'm gonna do this because I want to make him happy. It's not a duty or an obligation, but it's a desire to want to do it.
Well, the biggest thing that God's been teaching me in my life is patience. You know, a lot of times you pray about something and then you want some sort of action, so you go ahead and try and do it yourself instead of waiting on God. You know, you ask for something and then, okay, it hasn't happened yet, so you try and make something happen. For me, you know, you just being divorced after 12 years of being married, and you think you're going to be with that person your whole life, and then all of a sudden you're all alone, and you ask God, you know, what am I supposed to do now? And you know, you want to have somebody there with you to share your life, and you don't get an answer right away. So sometimes, you know, the answer is wait, and it may take a while. You know, it took a while for me to find Stephanie, and when I met Stephanie, I just kind of knew that that's what I was waiting for. You know, because I'm one of those people that whenever I ask for something or I want to know something, I want the answer right now. And I could have just jumped in and tried to make something happen myself, and I would have totally missed out on Stephanie and being able to spend my life with her. For me, it's learning to wait, to listen, because God's answer is always better than anything that you could ever come up with on your own. If I just wait and listen, then I'll get the right answer that I know will carry me through.